Hey guys, you just saw the other match in the Castle Cup, the first one between Nilly Jim Rising and their opponent. Now we have another one coming up. It's HasuObs versus PtitDrogo in the first one-on-one. And after that, we're going to have Trump SC versus PiG in the second one-on-one. And if it goes to a third game, there'll be a 2-on-2 to follow as well. This is the $10,000 Castle Cup semifinals number 2.
We're going to find out very, very soon, or in the case of an econ game, in a while, what's going to happen. But we're going to get into game number 1 of our second semifinal match, PtitDrogo versus HasuObs. Let's get started with the first set.
There we go. A game has started. The map is Mountain Pass. We see a very interesting... Oh my god! The relic spawned! The relic spawned, bro. There's one...
no!
What is this? There's
wow.
one. Okay, so HasuObs, quote unquote, has one relic, and this is very relevant for Holy Roman, and it's as far away from him as possible on quote unquote his side of the map. There's only one entrance in this mountain pass directly in front of his base, and then there's 4 relics on the side of PtitDrogo.
Very close to each other, too.
They are near. They're very convenient to pick up. If you bring your groceries back and you take a drive, put your dog in the boot, and you just have a little trip together, you can pick it up before anything, before your dog gets thirsty. But they are technically on Drogo's side of the map. If Drogo goes for a quick palisade wall into a feudal stone wall, he could deny HasuObs all but one of the relics.
Yeah, and HRE has so much dependency on the relics for a lot of their strategies, and it's the relics being put in the cathedral are extremely strong, but they can also do upgrades to help them, the relics boost their production and all kinds of other stuff. If there was docks, you can make your attack speed higher with your ships and things. So here's the question: HasuObs, maybe he was planning on doing some sort of a economic build and trying to match the Chinese economy. Does he now, let's say that wall happens, does he switch it up and say, you know what? The other advantages of HRE are early men-at-arms in the feudal age, infantry speed upgrades in the feudal age, bonus damage upgrades in the castle age for infantry. He could theoretically lean into a more aggressive strategy and try and punish the Chinese build, try and punish PtitDrogo, just get through that wall while he's, sometimes Chinese will put up that wall and they'll say, okay, now time to ignore my opponent for 10 minutes in macro, and they might forget that an attack could be possible. Exactly,
and honestly, if Hasu knew about the whole map, I think that second thing you said is the sensible thing to do. Minework Ramolin might just be the play here. The question is, did he come outfitted with such diversity in his playing styles? It's not just a relic story here either. Oh, but he did get lots of sheep. Good job to him. Does he have 1 scout or 2? I think it's the 1 scout, just really good movement. No, actually, I think he has 2 scouts. So he will be getting a lot of sheep, which is super helpful. And may actually...
All of the golds on his side of the map, too.
Exactly! HasuObs has 3 small golds and 1 big, very far away. What does PtitDrogo have? 2 small golds, 3 small golds, 4 small golds, and 3 big golds.
All the 3 big ones, yeah.
Let me calculate that. It's 8,000 times 3 plus 4,000 times 4.
So yeah, the big gold there. You 40 can see kind of by the.
It's it's 40,000 gold for Moltrap. It's 40,000 gold for PtitDrogo, and HasuObs has 16. HasuObs has 28,000. So that's a difference of 42%. But he's going to go with the Aachen Chapel. He's going to play a standard style, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, we kind of keep talking about this gap in the middle of the mountains as being very defensible, but it doesn't have to be the main point of contention. We could see, in fact, HasuObs push out into the other side and make it not about the mountain pass, but make it about the open fields in front of the mountain pass where all that stuff is. And we do see... Look at that, Barbican of the Sun going down right in that gap very quickly as well. So PtitDrogo wants to do exactly what we expected and just control his side and probably go into a booming economy with all the Chinese advantages that they get for that, because it looks like there is, on this instance of the map, only one gap, and it's relatively narrow.
Yeah, one gap plugged by the Barbican of the Sun that has cannons on it. He's putting it smack right next to that relic. I guess you could make a ram, put a prelate inside, pick up the relic, go back in the ram, and then drive away. There's also 2 scouts here for Hasu, so actually PtitDrogo is killing some sheep with the villagers. He's trying to kill so many sheep.
Nice.
1, 2, 3 sheep have been murdered already as HasuObs try to use his scouts to kill the villagers, but quickly Drogo sends more villagers to lock this down and fast build it. Remember, Chinese build 100% faster than other civilizations. And there's the palisade wall. Drogo knows exactly what he needs to do. Yeah. Oh, this is rough.
Yeah, he's going for it. Now, we were talking about the relics in the chapel. HRE does get a nice, really good economy in the early game with that chapel. So maybe I said the wrong one for the cathedral rather. Sorry, earlier. But yeah, with the Aachen Chapel, and just the fact that the prelates can boost their workers, HRE can get a nice big economy going on early. So it's still possible that he could, turn this into some sort of other mid-game strategy. He can at least get the one relic theoretically. You could maybe go for trading or something. If the map is divided, it's pretty safe to get a long trade route on this map on your side. But man, how do you deal with this situation? He's already been walled off. The Barbican of the Sun right next to that wall means he can't even really, get up there with scouts or something to tear down the palisade to try and get into the other side.
Yeah.
This is just unfortunately a kind of a I won't say disastrous, but it's just definitely a disadvantageous map situation for HasuObs. Imagine if it had been reversed, if they spawned on the other side. How crazy would that be if you were HRE and you spawned with all of the relics on your side of the map?
Yeah, exactly. That could have happened, and well, this the unluck as it is, this is the situation right now. So let's see how they get on and play this out. So far, we can see that both of the players have gone for a professional scouts upgrade. This allows their scouts to carry deer carcasses and bring them back to the fold, the safety of the town center. And in fact, for the Chinese civ, they've got imperial officials. These are unique units that only the Chinese can make, and you can have up to 4 of them. They cost 150 food and 1 population. If they are supervising actively, it's an active channel. If they are supervising your mill, you have 20% bonus food drop-off. So if you gather 10 and you bring back 10, it comes back as 12. And the same is true, of course, for these berries. So bringing back loads of deer carcasses, they can make food out of nothing. Very biblical. And both of them are going to be bringing back those deer. Hasu in position likewise. Hasu, of course, will be trying to go fast castle to get his Regnitz Cathedral to play for the relics, even though he's only got access to 1. And with his good scouting early game, he must know that this is all he has. Will he instead go for the Burgrave Palace, which counts as 5 barracks? I doubt it. I feel like even 1 relic is better than none.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's also, the potential that he can invade. It's usually not too... Usually the Chinese civilization doesn't go for the religious units very quickly. So there might be a little bit of a delay where there's a possibility of him breaking through that wall and snagging 1 or 2 of those relics and, getting control of those for the late game. Because it's usually not part of the Chinese build order to get that stuff. There's so many different things that China can build.
Yeah.
They have all these different things because if you don't know, the Chinese can build 1 landmark to advance to the age, and then they can actually build the 2nd landmark as well, which unlocks a dynasty, giving them special units, special buildings. So the Chinese have more unique units than any other civilization, more than most 2 civilizations combined. They've got a bunch of different unique buildings that do certain things. So there's a lot of stuff for China to do other than go for the religious objectives that they often go for to build up their economy and their forces. So there may be a point where HasuObs can kind of get to that castle age and be at a little bit of a disadvantage with only the 1 relic in his cathedral, but still be able to use that to break out and get a couple more to still get a later advantage. But both players going for the castle age very quickly, it looks like.
Yeah, mate, I find this super interesting because, well, usually Chinese will make Imperial Palace to begin with, then go Barbican 2nd landmark, or vice versa. For Song Dynasty, faster villager production, maybe a 2nd town center. Not so here. PtitDrogo, perhaps with a specially prepared strategy, or maybe this is his bread and butter. He's opening with a fast, astronomical clock tower. He's going to get to Castle Age before HasuObs. HasuObs is power building with more villagers, but it is Drogo that has the unique civilization advantage of faster building. This is a Chinese civ advantage. So he gets the Castle Age. Now, in StarCraft, all information must be garnered by scouting. There are no free information handouts, no scores. There are no, your opponent reached tier 2, reached tier 3, finished his lair, finished his hive, he's now making Great Aspire. So it was really weird coming into Age of Empires to see that this is the meta here. But I've come to like it. Age of Empires 4, when your opponent reaches Castle Age, they are informed of it. So HasuObs knows he's slightly slower. So perhaps the reason Drogo did this isn't so much to pump out Springolds or Nests of Bees, or even to do a Men-at-Arms Palace Guard rush. It might just be, as his scouts break through, because his wall is the one he controls, it might be to quickly get a lock on those 4 relics on his side of the map. Maybe he knows Hasu will still go Reknit's Cathedral and take his satisfaction with just a singular relic, but that eventually HasuObs is gonna come a knocking for one of those other 4 relics. But if PtitDrogo quickly retrieves them, he may permanently have them in his control. And I say may, because you can kill your opponent's monastery, break out the relics and steal them. But this has so far been extremely rare.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that you do see oftentimes is people will say, okay, well, I know China's going to do this bunker strategy, and I'm going to punish them by going for fast castle, and it can work to their advantage. So yeah, PtitDrogo kind of working off of that potentially, going for the fast castle himself. He also might have been thinking, okay, look, I think he's going to go for a fast attack. I want to be prepared for it. I want to have a couple Springolds in play for when he comes at me with rams. Because if you've got a palisade wall and the rams come to break it down, a couple Springolds will take him out before they can kill the palisades off. So it might have been a defensive posture where he's going to be like, okay, I've got the better late game, so I'm going to make sure I don't die in the mid game by getting some tech out first.
Exactly. Not going for that expected economy boom. Delaying a second town center seems to be a very intelligent decision for PtitDrogo here. And let's see if he does indeed go start with some of that early monastery play where he gets some monks and starts taking some of those relics. As for HasuObs' army composition, we've got the 5 scouts that will use torch damage to attack the wall. The knights here are a great gold sink, which is being generated by the gold from the Reknits. No sacred site yet, by the way, by HasuObs, but he's going to go with rams. He needed some infantry to be able to build rams. Lancers and villagers cannot build rams, so he's decided to go with the crossbows. And there we have a stone wall coming in front of the wooden wall. Does HasuObs sees it? He should see this because he's got scouts here. They've got really big vision range. If we can take a look at his vision, we'll actually know if he's aware of this. And we saw that Drogo started retrieving some of the relics. Yeah,
Drogo did indeed do what you mentioned. PtitDrogo going for that castle age and using it. Yeah, so he does have vision of this wall going up. Yeah, a little surprised to see him not harassing the villagers putting it up, but he may be sort of content to wait and say,
I think he's busy.
Yeah, that could be as well. But yeah, so PtitDrogo taking those, and that might have been why he went for the fast castle there, is to get those relics before HasuObs could do that. He's got 1 running over there. It looks like there's still 2 left on the map that haven't been picked up yet. But at this rate, with the stone wall going up and only 2 rams to break them down, the Barbican of the Sun to protect as well, it doesn't look like HasuObs is going to be able to steal into the night and get those relics after all. Oh, he might actually stop the end of the wall from beginning, and the hand cannons and the Barbican are going to work. But it's, excuse me, not going to be enough to stop these knights. Excuse me.
The 11th hour here is when Hasu makes his move. He starts ramming through part of the unfinished stone wall, perhaps to create a bit of extra space as Moltrap probably need to drink some water. But yeah, he manages to go through the stone wall, and he will go through the palisade wall as well. What is there on the other side? Palace guards. What are palace guards? They're like men-at-arms, -1 armor, but they're faster instead.
Yeah, sorry about that. You ever do that thing where you take a breath and you inhale your own saliva and you start choking on it? That's what happened just there.
I'll try it out someday.
So,
let you know how I like it. Probably
yeah,
not too
go
much.
for it. It's worth a try. I don't recommend it, but you know, it's like, oh, this food tastes terrible. Why don't you try it? Tell me what you think. There are 3 rams here now, though. He's actually going to break through both sets of the walls on the side here.
Okay.
He's got the hand cannons are pretty significant, but he does have a lot of armored units here pushing in. He's actually just got enough horse to run right by the Barbican and do some damage. He gets right on top of the nest of bees, the crucial area damage unit, and takes it out very quickly. His crossbowmen are now free to live and do more damage on the side. He's got 3 rams and a bunch of cavalry on top of the Barbican. He may have done exactly what we were talking about and gone for a timing attack to bust through the defenses before PtitDrogo could really get a booming economy.
HasuObs actually 5-head here. He actually, I don't know. Yeah, actually, you know that there's still access to a relic. He knew you're not doing your thing. You're doing an anti-me thing. You're doing walls, you're doing castle, you're disrupting relics. What have you not got? A booming economy. What have you maybe not got either? A heavy emphasis on army. Keep in mind that in Age of Empires 4, you see when relics are disappearing off the minimap. You can see that they're disappearing, even though you have no active vision of it. So long as you have revealed it once before, you can see the relics disappearing. So HasuObs, putting 2 and 2 together, he says, okay, you've got a monastery with monks. What do your monks do? Nothing. What do my prelates do? Yeah, they retrieve relics, but they also boost income. So you're doing an anti-me thing. How about I do an anti-you thing, rather than just doing my own thing? So rather than Hasu saying, well, this map generation sucks, I'm gonna put a note in with the admins and blah, 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 he says, I know what you're doing, and I've got the experience to try and punish you. Let's see if that works out, but he's coming in with knights here. There's spears, there's men-at-arms, there's a conversion attempt! Does HasuObs see it? Yes! He sent away his knights.
Oh, he got out. He actually, it looks like, yeah, he got both of his relics out of the, I don't remember what the name of the Chinese religious building is. There's different religious names for every religious unit and building. I think it might be a monastery. I think you're right. He got them out of there in order to be able to use them militarily there. That's kind of an interesting spot there. And he did temporarily chase those knights away. You can see they're back in the monastery now, generating a lot of gold as well. Not nearly as much gold as they would be in a cathedral, but still generating a lot of income there. And yeah, I think you're right. He just basically totally... And he snuck the prelate in there and he got the last relic while this was going on. He's going to get 2 relics in his cathedral after all. Oh, man.
Good old Hasu,
genius maneuver.
Yeah. You think he's never been unlucky before, guys? You thought that people would just draw a line in the middle of the map and let each other play the game single player? It's multiplayer competitive RTS. Luck could have been on either one of their sides, and HasuObs may have found a way to deny luck, to remove the random chance as a factor here. And he has retrieved the second relic. He'll be bumping his economy up from 300 bonus per minute from that single relic to 600, and the sacred site 700 against just 300. And PtitDrogo doesn't have enough army. He's trying to make nest of bees.
The economy won't matter at all if he just loses the game outright. Basically, HasuObs has the perfect army here. He's got these knights, he's got the crossbowmen. The rams are doing significant damage to all the buildings, and, you know, he's like, oh, I've got a few spearmen to deal with your knights. Well, that's not going to stop all of these crossbowmen from slaughtering your spearmen. He is actually going to battle against the spearmen with his knights. He's taking some damage. Actually, are those spearmen? Yeah, there's some spearmen and some villagers in there. Yeah. He's already lost... He's gonna lose his monastery as well. He can even theoretically send a prelate in there and steal some relics after they're gone. The relics are strewn around on the ground, and he only has 2. I mean, Chinese are known for having more landmarks than usual, but he's down to 2 landmarks right now. The rams are still doing damage. He could actually just go for an elimination right now if he can rally enough forces forward to continue to protect these rams so they can continue pushing.
The planets are going for a hostile takeover. They can even get in the ram to get away, but PtitDrogo will not wait for it. He knows the writing was on the wall. He will give up and surrender. A quick game here for HasuObs, saving our schedule and everyone's sleep schedule. HasuObs will be victorious. GG.
Wow, what a play! What a genius play. And here we see the villager count in the end. HasuObs way ahead. PtitDrogo never got to boom his economy. Look at this. They were even in villagers. Pretty close to even in villagers the whole time until PtitDrogo's villagers started getting slaughtered as they defended the buildings when HasuObs pushed through with multiple rams. And again, remembering that moment, just clutch, taking out the corner of that wall, the stone wall before it went up, so he could then move on to the palisade wall, and he never had to like deal with defending his rams while they're pushing through stone wall. It's just amazing stuff.
I love
Amazing
it.
play.
He was just in time to stop the stone wall. Even if he had not been, he would have had a ram to break through. You see that military graph. Big kudos as well to the army composition by HasuObs, using knights and crossbows, which only cost food and gold. The food sponsored by the deer carcasses under the vicinity of the Aachen Chapel with 40% bonus gathering rates. And the gold sponsored in part by that first relic. And some extensive gold mining as well. HasuObs fielded an army that PtitDrogo could not stop, was not ready for. PtitDrogo was like an octopus in that game, with tendrils in every single element of the game. He had scouts on his opponent's side of the map, multiple layers of walls, he aggressively barbicaned, he did a fast castle, he reached it earlier, he started retrieving relics. But this octopus was not ready for the hammerhead shark of the HRE of HasuObs here, who will take a very important first victory for the Trump HasuObs duo. And PtitDrogo will be relying on PiG to save the day against Trump in order to draw it out to the 2-on-2 third match decider.
Yeah, very impressively done. And, you know, if you think about what the advantages are, I mentioned before that China has a lot of different things that they can build, but they're limited as to when they can build them. They need to have a lot of infrastructure to get to certain things. So up against Rams, you know, if they'd been able to get to Fire Lancers, for example, or get those Springalds out of the clock tower, those would have been perfect to combat the Rams. But HasuObs came in right before, well, far before he was able to get to Fire Lancers, and kind of right after Castle Age was going, where he didn't have any Springalds out yet, and it looked like he had actually kind of underestimated that threat of the Rams. He didn't produce any Springalds. He could have, if he'd seen it coming, he could have had 3 or 4 Springalds out with the Imperial officer overseeing the clock tower and dealt with those Rams pretty easily, but he didn't do that. He was kind of like, I'm just going to keep booming here and just defend this with the Barbican. By the time he was in there killing the Barbican with 3 Rams, then it was a little bit too late. And we are going to take a look at some of those scenes right here from the last game. What an amazing game. Just extremely well played strategically by HasuObs.
Yeah, an inspiring story of overcoming bad luck, basically. There's an ancient Chinese proverb where a farmer's son broke his legs and the neighbor said, wow, how unlucky for you. And the farmer said, we'll see. Turns out he didn't need to go to the army in the conscription because his legs were broken. You never know what luck is going to look like. Just take everything as it goes and do the sensible thing in order to keep your sensible presence of mind. You know, one part of the downside of building Barbicans so close to this wooden wall is that there was no space for a stone wall behind it. It also meant there was no space for multiple onion layers of extra walls. Nest of Bees do a bang-up job of firing at army from behind walls, stone wall or wooden walls. Nest of Bees can do that. Springalds can shoot over only wooden walls, so multiple layers of wooden walls may have actually given the time for PtitDrogo to shoot down the Rams, as you pointed out. Not so in this setup.
And you can see he did have those nests of bees. Those were to be built first with that clock tower instead of Springalds, because he's thinking, okay, I need to get a good force of area damage built up so that in the late game I'll have something to deal with mass infantry and then my siege can win out.
Right.
But the nests of bees not doing as much damage as they could against the armored knights, and just not being numerous enough. As you can see, they couldn't kill anything before the anything was on top of them and destroying them.
Yeah, I love this attack here, the complexity of the army that HasuObs brought to field. Just kind of theory crafting here. What you would need into knights and crossbows. Crossbows typically get countered best by enemy archers and nests of bees or mangonels, or horsemen. Knights typically get countered by crossbows or bombards, really, or your own knights. Knights don't have a lot of counter. Spears sometimes,
Right.
but going
Spears,
going spear archer would not have had the desired effect on time, most likely into this attack. Maybe it could have. Maybe if he knew this was coming, they get to play again, he may just mass up a large feudal force of spears and archers, where that would actually work pretty well, as crossbows do kill spears, but they don't have bonus damage. So in terms of pure cost against cost, that may have worked, but he was not prepared for this, and a very 5-head attack by HasuObs.
Yeah. You know, that game made me hungry. I think it's time for another snack. And I got my advice for what to eat from Twitch chat again. And I don't know why this is supposed to make me better at Age of Empires, but I have some Chinese spring rolls here. And maybe if PtitDrogo had some spring rolls, some Chinese spring rolls before. And you know what? These are about 50% bigger than spring rolls at other restaurants too. So very hearty snack there. But I don't know why Twitch chat thinks that spring rolls are going to make me better at Age of Empires, but that's what they always say. Get Chinese spring rolls. Oh well.
They talk about it a lot, and we should have seen a bit more of those. And maybe there's spring rolls for everyone. If everyone, well, whatever. Maybe there's spring rolls for everyone, but they did get nerfed. So okay, so let's go to the next maps.
Yeah.
We have the loser pick here for the French and for the Chinese. PtitDrogo and PiG did get picked the first map, but they are the losers, so they picked the second map. They're gonna go for Lipany.
We've seen this map before as in the previous matchup, but very, very cool map. It's more wide open. You know, there's a lot less terrain than some other maps, but there are a lot of impassable hills around. I'm wondering how this is going to match up. We're going to have French versus English. We are going to get that historically significant matchup on this map. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this goes because it is going to be wide open. It means I think there's probably going to be a lot of positional play where we're going to have potentially knights trying to run around the sides. We're going to have archers from the English potentially trying to find spots where they can pick off workers. But we won't know exactly how the map is composed until we get into there.
Exactly. And you know, you may think that winner stays on, but this is a true team effort in every respect. Hasu is done with the one-on-ones for the semifinals. This is going to be Trump as English against PiG as the French. This used to be one of the most classical matchups we saw in the first 2 weeks of the game. Two of the slightly simpler civs to understand, though they have many nuances and intricacies. The English typically go with the archer landmark for lots of longbows, and the French typically go with the stables landmark for lots of knights. Now, knights directly beat archers in the rock, paper, scissors of the counter table of feudal age in Age of Empires. And then spears could be used to protect the longbows against the knights. The longbows do have the massive range advantage, so the knights are forced to close the gap in order to counter longbows. You can then use spears to defend against them. And how does French deal with those spears? Your own archers. So you have this rock, paper versus paper, scissors kind of matchup where micro, positioning, and decision making will become key. But full hard on hard is not the only thing we may see here, with full feudal armies clashing and pressuring each other. Either of the players could choose to throw things over a different tack and go for a fast second town center instead.
Yeah, people think of French and they think, okay, we got knights and we got hulks. All feudal age aggression, whether it be on water or on land. But people don't often keep in the top of their mind that a lot of the French advantages are all economic advantages. They get better villager production, they get better economic upgrades. Not better, but they get cheaper economic upgrades.
Right.
They get some other upgrades for free and the melee damage and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that French can do. Trading. They get a lot of bonuses with trading as well. So if the French want to, they could go for, yeah, maybe some horse or some archers to try and deal with the early longbowmen, play defensively and go for a longer game. On the other side of things, if the English go for their town center landmark for age 3, they can also get, as we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, fast tech and fast town center at the same time and try and go into a better economy in the late game as well. We're probably still going to see some longbowmen. You need at least some of those out just because they're so strong in the early game. But yeah, like you said, it's oftentimes interesting to see that even though the knights are, you know, ideally the best counter to archers, sometimes you see French build very few knights against English because they're thinking a few steps ahead and getting the archers to counter the spearmen that are countering their horses.
Right, yeah. And it's predictable indeed to just longbow rush, knight rush each other. It's potentially abusable, counterable, though micro will be a great determiner in who actually wins out there. But we've been seeing some emergent new strategies from French. Using the stables with the 20% faster production, their their school of cavalry, they can make scouts in 16 seconds instead of 20. So they can also go for the professional scouts upgrade, get some food, and maybe go to a castle age. what works well against someone that's massing longbows? Patience, defense, limiting losses, going to castle, and then getting even just one mangonel. That's like GG to the army of longbows. So how will Trump play this? Will he try to stave off the castle age timing of PiG by doing an early longbow ram pressure? Or will he go, like you said, to the castle age with the town center to get extra economy? Or he can even go to castle age with the keep equivalent. It's like a keep. And what's special about the English, they can make almost any unit from the game out of a keep. It functions as a joker card of a building. So he could get springles from there to protect his longbows from mangonels.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out pretty soon here. And again, both these players may have some plans in mind, and they may adapt those plans as they get into it. We're going to get into game number 2 here, ladies and gentlemen, of the second semifinal of the Castle Cup, Trump versus PiG.
Looking forward to this. The score is 1-0 for the Trump SC team, courtesy of his teammate HasuObs, with a brilliant surgical strike executed against PtitDrogo. PtitDrogo will have his thumbs together here, praying for PiG to come out ahead. The map, Lipany. The map Lipany. And where before on Lipany we had 3 outcroppings of rock, kind of creating artificial territory movement blockers. And now it seems like it spawned with about 1 in the bottom right. And it seems to be in a wholly irrelevant area, some might say. The sacred sites lean a little bit closer to the side of Trump, whereas PiG has all of them quite far away from him.
And there's actually quite a bit of secret forest on this map. Sometimes it spawns with a little bit and sometimes with a lot. There's a couple really large chunks of secret forest in the middle. I don't know if it's going to come into play at all, but it may theoretically have some influence. I just wanted to note it there. We do have PiG going ahead and already putting 1 villager over there onto the gold, looking to get to that fast castle. I'm sorry, fast feudal rather, pretty quickly. Both these players probably going to go ahead and do that. But, you know, we could see any number of different things. I've watched Trump play the English. As you mentioned, he's kind of been maining English. And he's been playing a lot of it. I don't feel like I've seen him play any early men-at-arms rushes in
Vanguard?
recent memory. Yeah.
Like Dark
Vanguard
Age.
men-at-arms, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, recently I tried out the alternative landmark for English. Not the council hall with the double archery range value, but the Abbey of Kings, a healing fallback point, and then Vanguard Men-at-Arms Rush. It's not good. It's it's not good. I think you said that it's the first thing you tried as well when you tried them in this game. It's the last thing I tried, and the last time I'll ever try it.
Yeah. Well, and you know, theoretically, France could go for the Chamber of Commerce for their feudal age landmark as well, which gives you bonuses to trading and gives you extra returns and. You know, but that's probably not a good idea either.
Yeah, probably not. You know, just evaluating.
If you go traders against archers, who wins in that matchup?
Well, maybe we have to ask Nili that. But so far, let's evaluate the strength of the stable landmark, the School of Cavalry. It produces at 1.2 rate of stables, so it's worth 1.2 stables. The council hall for English is worth 2 archery ranges, so advantage to Trump. But the cool thing is it buffs all of your stable production speed, which means that the moment that you build 5 stables extra, which is a lot to be honest, it's like you have 6 extra. So you know, it's decent. It's not crazy. It's not that the other landmark isn't viable, but typically on land maps you will go for the stable. And we can see the School of Cavalry, we can see the council hall coming out. Players are zooming around the map with their scouts, trying to collect as many sheep as they can.
And if we do get to a very late game situation, if you build those stables around a keep, that actually makes your units cheaper as well. So you can just get basically a 20%, 20% extra units for free, essentially, if you get to that point. But there's going to be a lot happening, I expect, in this game before we get to any keeps being built. Because, as we did allude to, despite the fact that they can go for econ, both of these civilizations tend to be aggressive early on. Both players going for that feudal age right now.
You say that, but we look at Trump, and he's posturing as a defensive player. Again, it's possible he's pretending to go, like he's posturing to go for a Stonewall longbow rush. which is actually interesting. If you put longbow on the stone wall, they get 9 range. They can outrange a town center. But it takes them a fortnight to take down a town center, actually. So maybe it's just villager harass. More likely than that, with his allocation towards wood and stone, he's posturing to make a second town center. And this barracks, no doubt part of his build order to make a few defensive spears into a potential early cavalry rush.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people in the first couple weeks of the game really complaining about the strength of the cavalry rush. Yeah. And then people realized, like, you kind of need 1 or 2 spears at every villager point, and you're going to be pretty much okay against those fast knights. And I want to point out that it's kind of funny that you and I and others were saying in those first few weeks, just wait a minute, how people are playing now is not going to be how people are playing in a month. And sure enough, here we are 2 months in, and things are completely different. Trump is not petrified in fear of a night rush. He's just casually building barracks to get a little bit of a defense for it, and actually mining some stone as well. Yep. So it looks like he is going to be using his longbowmen defensively.
If he even makes any. You know, if he even makes any, just because you're not going Abbey of Kings and you're going Council Hall doesn't mean you need to make any right away. You've always got that option later. I'd be surprised if he makes any at all. 50 would set back his second town center. And once you've committed to this barracks in order to make spears, you might as well get that second TC as quickly as possible to exponentially grow your income. But the first knight is coming in. It's going to get a connection on villagers. It needs 3 hits. There's the charge. There's the second hit. Oh, it actually needs only 2 hits.
Yeah, I guess with the bonus damage from the charge. And look at these. He's running into the town center. Knights don't care too much about town center shots, but that many is going to force him back eventually. But yeah, and crucially, he's going after the stone villagers as well. I'm not sure if he actually stopped him from getting it. No. Enough stone. It looks like no. Yeah, he had enough stone to make that town center. So you're right. He didn't make a bowman.
Yeah, not a single bowman. And I'll say this: Trump, he may not be the fastest APM player, but like you said, he was rank 1 on the StarCraft ladder early on. He's a very smart guy, smart player, excellent Hearthstone player. Where of course, time is an issue. You can rope. Right?
Right.
It's not exactly an RTS, but you can see, look at how everything fits together. That TC fits snugly between the 2 mining camps, and I wonder if that was intentional. The build is clean. His second TC is finished at the 6:14 minute mark. We see that the PiG is also going for a second town center, but significantly slower because he made a Royal Cavalry first.
Nice. Yeah, Trump is a very analytical player. He's the type of person that he'll, not literally, but, sort of stop and say, okay, what is the situation? What do I need to do here? And he'll make a decision based on that rather than, reacting too quickly. And so not surprised to see, as you pointed out, a really crisp build order, very, very well planned, which, could be adaptable to a number of different maps, but it almost seems like custom fit to this map in a way, in the spawn of his base. He's probably adapting it to the situation of where his resources were. But look at that. His lumber, his gold, his stone, all completely protected by town center fire right now.
Love it.
Pig, on the other hand, is happily mining away. He's not facing any pressure from any bowman. So he's kind of being able to do his thing as well. And what is he going to do with this space?
Well, he's gone with the chivalry upgrade for knights. So they are going to heal when out of combat. Healing is actually really hard to come by in this game, interestingly. Zerg players in StarCraft 2 have small forms of regeneration. They've got transfusion. Protoss shield regenerates fast. Even if their main damage, their main health can be hurt forever. Terran have medivacs. In Warcraft 3, everyone's got healing. In MOBAs, everyone has healing. In Age of Empires 4, monks can provide healing at Castle Age, but almost no one does that. So most units that get hurt are simply just hurt, and they do not regenerate over time. But knights, they're special. The knights and scouts are special, and knights can be upgraded to be special, to regenerate when out of combat. And that's what Pig is getting here. He's looking to get a little bit more mileage. You see that green plus as it regenerates and lays chase into the scouts. Just a little bit of map control, not too much, just 1 knight.
Yeah, and technically, longbowmen are actually one of the other units that can be upgraded to heal out of battle.
True.
With their setup camp ability. Although I don't know if he's going to go for that. It looks like Trump is just not leaning into longbowmen, really heavily right now. He's getting a couple now, but you just kind of want to have a couple around just in case. You know that your opponent may be building some infantry, and it's nice to have some bowmen to deal with that. I'm curious if I haven't really kept track of their scouting information. Like I said, Trump is very analytical. I think PiG is very smart as well and think about what his opponent is doing. So I think they're probably both going to want to kind of scope out what the other one is doing right now and see what am I going to need to do to respond. And actually, here we do have some spearmen out for Trump to kind of advance with this archer. Just a little excursionary force.
I think Trump hasn't killed a single unit yet. He's lost a single villager, so it's a very pacifist game so far, but tension is rising as both players are ramping up their economy. We have horticulture coming out, gathering rate for food going up for Trump, very economically minded. There's that single kill, the first blood for PiG as he killed that one villager. And just kind of trying to make predictions of where we're headed. What is Trump going to be headed for? He's building up some bank. It looks like he's going for Castle Age. Do you think it's going to be with a keep for some mangonels or springles or trebuchets or knights? Or do you think he's going to go triple villager production from that Castle Age landmark that functions like a town center? Guess now.
At this point, I would probably predict that he's going to go for the town center because he's going over there and he's scouting. PiG has also gone for a second town center. So PiG is not looking to put a lot of pressure on him right now. He's got plenty of spearmen and to deal with a couple knights and what have you. And here he is actually moving out with a number of villagers. Oh, these are just to gather the deer, and he's got actually a spearman to protect the deer as well. So, but that's kind of what I would guess. I think Trump is a player, like I said, he's analytical. He's going to keep an eye on what PiG is doing and make a decision based on that. But I also feel like he knows when it's okay to be greedy. And going for that town center landmark in Age 3 is something that I feel he's probably going to feel like he can get away with. And there we go, right. Economic landmark.
So King's Palace will allow a garrison of 10 villagers. Of course, every single town center and keep offers bonus attack speed via the network of castles upgrade, 25% against units underneath it. And it's interesting how this small force of 5 spearmen can be enough of a dissuasion for knights to get some kills. Longbows putting a little bit of a timer. The knights go in with a charge. They kill 1 villager. Will there be a second? Yep. 2 villagers picked off. Real nice. They go for the longbow and they'll try to get away from the spears. Nice little pickup for PiG.
Yeah. Trump playing pretty defensively here, but the knights are obviously faster than anything that Trump has fielded right now, so they kind of dive in there, get some kills, and go out. And that is one of the advantages of that HP regen upgrade for the knights. They can go in, do some damage, take some hits, escape, and rinse repeat with their hit points regenerated there. And, Royal Knights are actually strong enough to take down some spearmen if they go toe-to-toe, if they're not outnumbered too much. And there we go. Trump hitting Age 3 very, very quickly. Well, relatively quickly compared to PiG, who's still in Age 2.
Yeah.
Looks like he's making his third building now. His third landmark, rather.
Guild Hall coming out. So we have a nice cycle of speed advantage for Trump here. He's also making triple villagers now. Keep in mind that French are allowed to build villagers faster. They get a 10% discount at Dark Ages, a 15% discount at Feudal. So most likely, if we were to look at the villager count, we would see PiG with about a 5 villager lead or so by now, I would say, despite the cleaner timings of Trump. We see 61 villagers for PiG, now 62. As we switch player vision to Trump, we can see his villager count as well. He's got 58. So 58. Yeah, about 5 villagers lead.
Yeah. Although with that third essential town center, Trump may be able to overtake him in not too long of a time. He's only a few villagers behind, and so it's basically, if you think about that, with extra production cycle, it's only going to take him 3 cycles to catch up. And the town center was nicely placed. I mean, even though it's not a keep, it's still a town center. It's still defensive, and so he's kind of controlling the area around those resources, the deer and the berries and stuff as well.
Yeah.
It looks like he might be going in for some harassment here. He's got some spears and a few archers. The archers to do damage to villagers at range and the spears to protect them is what it looks like, just as PiG finally reaches Castle Age.
And it looks like Trump's got his first kill as well. I believe he has about 1 kill by now. Perhaps an errant scout somewhere. As it's still the big question, what is Trump looking to do in this situation? What are his upgrades like? Knights coming in, bit of a raid, 1 villager down, 2. That's a total of 7 units down already, 8. That's 6, 7 villagers or so far in this game. So a nice little advantage. In the meantime, what is Trump doing himself? He's killed about 4 units, maybe 1 or 2 villagers there. Definitely small little lead here for PiG, even if Trump got the faster castle age, and therefore in theory should have an advantage in upgrades, like veteran men-at-arms or whatever it could possibly be.
Yeah, just simply getting to the age doesn't necessarily mean anything if you're not utilizing that to get better upgrades or better
Right.
units, obviously. Curious to see if he's going to end up building... well, I was thinking, like, usually when I hit age 3, it's like Siege Workshop. The Siege units are the better late-game units. You want to go for those, but he may not go for that right now because
he's
he
got
doesn't
it.
really have anything... Oh, he already does have it. Never mind.
Yeah, currently Trump is making a mangonel. You're quite on the ball. He's making a mangonel. It should be about finished. That's going to help him kill enemy archer balls, and that's going to keep his spearman healthy. So what is this beautiful building coming here? Would this be a monastery, perhaps? Yeah, okay, so monastery right next to the relic.
Right next to the relic.
Really convenient.
Very cool. So yeah, Trump kind of anticipating what PiG is going to do. PiG has just kind of been depending on these knights to be mobile on the map, to be an annoyance and a frustration and a harassment, and killing some of his villagers. But PiG doesn't have a huge army just yet, so I think Trump kind of, knowing that eventually PiG will be utilizing the substantial economy that he does have to build up some armies, getting ahead of the game by getting a second mangonel as well as what that looks like. So if PiG isn't ready for this, if he comes in with an archer ball to try and deal with Trump's spearmen, and it lands a couple mangonel shells on top of the group, it could be devastating very quickly.
Yeah, because those are archers. The big question will be, can the spearman come out in big enough numbers to stop the inundation of knights all over his army? English spearmen can brace. They can stand still. They can use their spear to absorb the cavalry charge damage, remove it, and eliminate the bonus damage post-charge that Royal Knights normally enjoy. More Siege Workshop units are being pumped out by Trump as we speak. His mangonels are going in for their first shot.
Oh,
There's a large...
in the secret forest!
He doesn't know!
He doesn't know! A shell lands on a lot of villagers. One shell will not kill them, though. So they are going to get away, but those villagers, mind you, are definitely at low hit points, and they're going to have to run away from those deer as well, is a crucial thing. And here's the thing, mangonels are specifically designed to do area effect damage, but they are also pretty good at shelling buildings if you don't have trebuchets around. They're going to be a good second place for that. And so here he is starting to pick away, doing some damage onto the extra town center of PiG, and also theoretically threatening those villagers nearby. And they're actually going to be running out of range just in case the mangonel redirects fire to them preemptively to go ahead and put some farms down on the side.
I must admit, I did not expect Trump to be the first attacker in this matchup here. PiG is marshalling a rather large force that, to be honest, I think there's more resources in that ball of resources there. Even as some monks have come back with the relics, hasn't quite put them in yet. But I didn't think to see this. Town center is half-life. Cavalry, are they going for a flank?
Oh, that would be good. Now, Trump's forces are in that secret forest, which means PiG cannot see them. He knows they're there, but he doesn't actually know exactly how many of what kinds of forces are there. He can only see the mangonels that are kind of peeking out there. So he's making a little bit of a blind counter here. And actually, Trump going in for the kill.
Oh, no.
The town center is at half health. He's going in with the infantry that can do torch damage as well. And it's actually a counterattack, not a flank. PiG going for the counterattack, trying to attack Trump's villagers at once. But this may be his doom because he really needs to defend his own economy, I think, more than harassing Trump's right now. Trump able to go back into the defensive town center. The knights do have a lot of armor, but they're taking so much damage from the rapid-fire town center. Can he kill enough of those wood-gathering villagers, though, to equalize? And I'm not sure if Trump is actually continuing to go in on that attack or if he's falling back.
He's coming
back. It looks
back.
as if he's kind of coming back for it, yeah. So losing so many villagers. Look at the blue dead bodies all over the ground. He did not run away his lumber-gathering villagers, and oh no, his mangonels. His mangonels are slower. They're caught in the back. They may get caught off guard by the reinforcing army of PiG, and all of his expensive siege units could get obliterated coming to defend.
Genius move here by PiG, going for the counterattack. The town center never fell. The cavalry are on top of the mangonels.
Oh no.
PiG
All the
with
mangonels
the
are going to
attack.
get slaughtered.
His archers are spread out. His knights are undercutting the resources and economy of Trump. Pig doing a huge move. He marshaled an army large enough. Trump was the first attacker, but it looks like Pig may have the last laugh here and stand triumphant against Trump.
Wow. And look at those knights that ran in to do all that damage, coming out almost unscathed with their armor. I mean, because Trump didn't have a lot of units that were able, he didn't have crossbowmen to actually deal with those knights very well. So they went in there, they killed million villagers, ran around in his entire base, and came out pretty much unscathed to rejoin with his army at the front, which now Trump has almost nothing left. Those are not archers, those are villagers. English villagers can use bows. Those are villagers fighting knights, ladies and gentlemen. And just as in real life, villagers fighting knights in Age of Empires 4 is not a very good matchup for the villagers. They're finally going to run back to that town center landmark, but he's been completely overrun by everything all up in his base. I don't know if Trump even has enough villagers left that are mining because they're all in defensive buildings or dead. I think this could be the beginning, or actually the middle of the end for Trump right now.
Yeah, his beautiful town, his Sim City, is being wrecked, not by a natural disaster, but by a disaster of his opponent's making. Units everywhere. Town centers are firing back, but that's 1 damage a pop into knights. He's going to try to do a conversion, but on what? 2 knights? Would be cool, though. Moral victory? No, not even that!
And he actually, it's funny because he knew that his buildings were at the outskirts were in danger. He went and pulled that out of his monastery specifically because he knew that he needed a Hail Mary last-ditch effort. He knew that he was going to have to pull off some sort of miracle where all of the knights charged down on a building and he converted them all. And he's like, I got to go for the YOLO Wololo and see if I can manage a last-second conversion. But instead, he's been overrun. There's the GG. And Pig has, in fact, secured the tie for his team. We're going to go to another 2v2 match to decide this second series. I am so excited.
Yeah, fantastic job here. We've got a 1-1 and we're going to go to the 2-on-2. You can actually see that Trump did take that villager lead, but rather than sitting on it and letting the economy work for him, he exposed himself in a tough spot. And if an opponent thinks front to back and thinks to deal with your Mangonel and Spearball, perhaps Trump could have done more. But Pig broke the rules of the engagement, did the thing that Trump was not ready for. No walls, no units left at home, and a great outmaneuvering. Not only that, Pig also probably macroed better. He had more units, and I will even dare to say that they were costing a little bit more. Trump maybe had a bit of a bank, or perhaps he made farms a bit too late, or his lumber camp was too far from the woods. It's hard to tell sometimes in an RTS why someone's got more stuff than someone else. And yeah, in this case, Pig managed things better.
Yeah, very well done. And this is, Age of Empires 4 is a very macro-based game a lot of times, but it's also very tactical. And I've seen games where, and this is an instance of it, this is not the only game where I've seen where the person who had maybe a big advantage in one sense was tactically outplayed, and that was basically what happened there. The run-by against Trump's undefended base, he had all these town centers, but not really a lot else to defend, and splitting up Trump's army, making it so that those mangonels got caught in the distance, and he could overtake them. What a brilliant move by Pig to actually, you see that and not just go for that attack, but say, oh, he realized his army is stretching out, and I can catch the tail end of it with my knights, my other knights, because he didn't send all of his knights for harass, only a contingent to distract him, and then came in and swooped in, and all those mangonels, so much money and so much tactical ability to kill all of the archers that he had behind his knights was obliterated. And without those mangonels firing big area damage shots onto Pig's archers completely defended his knights from the spears, and the knights were able to overrun everything else.
Exactly, and we kind of saw that stark difference to Maltrap, not just in the tactics you just so well described, but also in the total economy output. Pig was about 50% ahead in almost every resource gathering, which is insane considering villager count was nearly dead even, slightly favored for one or the other. It probably means better walking distances for various resources. We remember that second town center was right next to the deer camp and next to the wood. Maybe he even invested more in economy upgrades as well. We've got a few highlights ready for you so we can recap the match. For those of you that just tuned in and to see some of the best moments here again, these knights, they caught a few villagers, a little bit of an advantage and a disruption in your opponent's attention.
Yeah, and this is, why, Pig, I think he got his town center. Actually, do you remember which of them got their second town center up earlier? I don't recall now.
It was Trump at 614, and
Okay.
Pig got his at about maybe 650. So I want to say maybe 40 seconds later or so.
Yeah, well, killing a few villagers here means that now Pig is ahead in the villager count, even though he had a little bit less production, basically.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he was able to take those early advantages. At this point, it felt like Trump had the right army to deal with what Pig had, and he was assaulting that second town center. It felt like Trump had the tactical advantage there. And there you can see, actually, yeah, on the side. So Trump has one lumber mill. It's kind of far from where his villagers are.
Way too far.
Maybe he could have had a little bit better income there. But the crucial thing is here, where these knights run in and kill them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how far the lumber mill is if you're dead.
Slow gathering is better than being dead, definitely.
So, yeah, just a slaughter. That's probably, 15 or 20 villagers that died just in that little assault there. Here's the coup de grace, though. Finishing off those mangonels, which is what he needed to kill off those archers, was the big deal. And without those mangonels, which is a big investment, yeah, Trump just didn't have enough tactically to deal with the onslaught after that.
So that, oh, look, oh, wow, that's cool. We got a little moment from Pig's stream here.
Nice.
Awesome. Nice. He knows that his team is still in the game.
Cool shirt he's got on, too.
So nice.
He's going crazy! Woo! Yeah, we all feel like Wooloo every now
It's true.
and then. Yo, that's super neat. Great job, production there. It means we will be heading to the 2-on-2 for Hasu Trump against PtitDrogo Pig.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So we're going to have an interesting matchup there. And again, we do not know the map. The map will be revealed to us and you all and the players. And It's been chosen by production blindly and ahead of time. So, but there's no picks or bans or anything like that for the maps. There's a map pool of 3 2v2 maps, and one of them is going to be selected, and it is Lipany.
It was either going to be Lipany or Altai. That also means that everybody now knows that the 2-on-2 map for the finals is Altai. Not really on the concern for the 4 players here. They've got something else to worry about, actually making it to the final. So it's going to be Lipany, the same map we just played on, for 1-on-1. Now let's see how it looks in a 2-on-2. Yeah, bigger. Imagine it, but bigger.
Yeah, basically. And,
How big?
you know... And it means that I feel like oftentimes the elements of the map that you can kind of count on happening, being procedurally generated, the larger the map, the more players, they tend to get screwed with a little bit more. So we could see some wonky setups where the sites are in different places or the markets or whatever. So 2v2 maps can be a little bit more volatile, but it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Lipany, a very open map. So, you know, we've got the Chinese, which are better when they've got a point where they can defend more sincerely versus 2 civilizations that can rush. We have the potential for early men-at-arms with HRE and longbowmen from English, a nice, very strong feudal combo for an early attack against the Chinese, which, you know, they've got Juknu, theoretically, which are going to be good against the bowmen, but the men-at-arms won't let them get close enough.
That's true.
I don't know. There's a lot of different combinations that are possible. We could end up in all players going for a macro game and HRE going for the normal relics and stuff too. But the 2v2 situation throws a lot of the meta out the window and makes other possibilities happen.
Yeah, what do you think is going to be Mole Trap? If it were you, if it were us, and also with a nod towards the first 2-on-2, you think it's going to look like a kind of epic canvas of the map like Mongolian Heights was earlier in the earlier 2-on-2, or do you think it's going to be a lot more coordinated aggression?
I don't know. It's hard to say because, I mean, it may depend on the map mechanics and how it's set up as well. I feel like, again, most of the time, as we discussed earlier, regardless of if it's the best call or not, most of the time these 2v2s end up in a longer game. And on Lipany, the resources are kind of, as you mentioned, spread out all over the place. I feel like it's probably going to go to that sort of thing, which I think means that harassment is going to be huge. I think that Pig having France able to send those knights around is going to be doubly effective because he's going to have 2 sets of potential weakness points for those knights to run in and do some damage, because there's not going to just be 1 gold that they can harass, but 2. There's not going to be 1 lumber line, but 2 that they can go in and harass a lot. So we might have PiG doing harassment, while PtitDrogo does a Chinese economy boom in the background, is something I might expect. But I don't know. I don't know if these guys have practiced the 2v2 matchup very much. So it may be, as the Bonjour team mentioned earlier, a bit of a make it up as we go situation, and it might be just playing it by ear.
You know, it's funny you mention that, because way back when in WC3L, you had the best one-on-one players representing teams for their sponsors, for their organizations, and they would battle it out in 3 one-on-ones. And then you would have 2 2-on-2s that would also matter. And the 2-on-2s came into play only if the one-on-ones didn't go 3-0 for one side. So if you had good enough one-on-one players, you could determine the whole match with 3 one-on-one victories. But if you even trip up once, 2-on-2 would start to matter.
Right.
And still you had teams that would phone it in, not practice 2-on-2, and think you can just put 2 one-on-one players together and hopefully chemistry and good tactics happen. Then you had teams that didn't specialize so much in one-on-one. They didn't have the star players that could win international tournaments, but they put a lot of effort in 2-on-2, which meant they're always 2 points ahead because they had 2 good 2-on-2 teams. And all they needed was a singular one-on-one point. It's interesting. You just asked, what if the teams didn't prepare any 2-on-2 strategies? Possible. But we're talking about pretty significant prize money here. It's 1 night of play and just 2 maps per person per match for a total of 2 matches, 4 maps. 2-on-2 seems worthwhile to actually practice and to come up with a special strat. And we are about to see if that has indeed happened. We can now actually see Lipany. Oh my God! The players are really close to each other.
Wow. Yeah, Lipany is a map where you can spawn pretty close anyway, but in a 2v2 as well, you're close to 2 enemies. Also.
Wait, who's with who? Green and blue are together? Oh, okay.
Green and blue, yes.
We got left versus right side.
Left versus right, yeah.
The players, I want to say, are like 5% closer to their ally than their opponent.
Right, yeah. And we do see that there's kind of a row of sacred sites kind of going in the diagonal from north to south, dividing. So you've got one that's basically on this map, you have the sites between the players. And so they've done it in the same way where the sites are between the teams in this instance. And again, this is actually, I think, more typical for this map on the 2v2. There's a giant secret forest in the middle. And we did see that the secret forests ended up being tactically significant in the last game on this map, the 1v1. But there's a large secret forest in the middle that's very close to a couple of the players' spawns as well. Might come into play as well. Just wanted to mention the map mechanics there. And of course, we have markets in the corners where there's not sacred sites. But, could be a thing. We saw in the 2v2 earlier that they said, okay, because it's a 2v2, it's going to be a macro game. And we had the Mongol player who is good at aggression go for trading. Are we going to see PiG go for trading and use the French trading bonuses instead of the knights early on?
And then we look at where the marketplaces are. There's one on the far left side, kind of towards the bottom of the far left, and there's one on the far right side. So there's very safe markets, but they won't generate a lot of gold. In order to get the most of it, you would need to make a market at the top or the bottom of the map. And those are exposed. They're as close to your opponent as they are to yourself. So trading seems an unlikely route for all of these players. And is HasuObs, the red player, as Holy Roman, is he going to go for the relics? His eyes must be lighting up with a kid at Christmas doing some window shopping, because how many relics have we got? 7.
Yeah, and that means even if his opponent gets 4 of them, he'll still have 3 left, unlike earlier when there was only 1 left on his side of the map, on the Mountain Pass map. We do have a council hall going down already for Trump, and curious to see if anyone else is going for early tier 2. That's really fast here. Yeah, well, we're looking around. But yeah, again, we never, like we said in the last game, we're not sure if going to council hall means that Trump is going to be going for aggression, or if it means that he's just going to be teching up as normal. And there we go. Tier 2 buildings are going to be thrown down for all these different players. PiG going for the School of Cavalry, as expected. Would have been a little bit... It would have been possible, but it would have been a little bit out of the ordinary for him to go for the economic landmark as the French.
Yeah, exactly. Chamber of Commerce, always a possibility. Let's see, HasuObs, Aachen, Chapel, we have all the expected landmarks. Drogo is lagging behind the most. Oh, Pig loses his scout. He goes through a town center. Well, there's so many of them, isn't there? Normally, you only have to dodge one, but he loses his scout as French. He can remake it from the cavalry school, but that is a bit of a big loss. Like, would it be possible to just see the player vision for either of these teams so we can get a kind of glimpse for how much either team pretty much knows about the map right now? Maybe we can get a look at that. But we've got the Barbican of the Sun here coming in to protect the mill.
Nice. Yeah, it makes sense. Again, you know, we've talked about how 2v2 games end up in a macro match oftentimes, but with historically 2v2 matches being aggressive, what's going on?
Yeah, sorry, just we can see that Drogo and Pig have pretty much seen the entire map. And on the other side, same thing. So it's not that the death of a scout now leaves large parts of the map uncharted. Sorry, just kind of wanted to see that.
Sure. And I don't think he had any sheep on that scout either. It looked like that scout was designed to just go really quickly check out his opponent after dropping off initial sheep. And taking some more shots there. So you can see what's happening, by the way, for those of you that aren't familiar. The one town center, if you're kind of riding by the outskirts, is not going to kill a scout. But if you see your opponent riding through the range of your town center, and you dump 10 villagers into it, each of those 10 villagers will get a shot on every volley that is fired from the town center. So if you dump the villagers in there, then they will kill a scout very quickly. So I think that's what was happening in each of those instances. Everyone aging up around the same time here. Trump and PtitDrogo are going to follow up. There we go. Everyone aging up within about 5 seconds of each other. And we're just going to see it go into a middle game. And yeah, it looks like neither player going for aggression. None of the players going for aggression right now. They're both content to just play the team out and play for a longer game.
Yeah, and Trump actually with the identical build order as he utilized in his solos game. 520 is when he is starting his second town center, gathering that stone. None of the other players have gone for the stone yet. So PtitDrogo may just play his one-on-one style, Fast Castle and Relic Denial. HasuObs, for his part, going with the stables, the fast scouts, in order to collect deer. And there's so many of them. But now we look, wait, whose archers are those? Blue archers, Drogo. We have Imperial officials supervising archery range. I think it's going to be Royal Cavalry range. It's Chinese and French aggression.
Oh, wow, you're exactly right. And there, it doesn't look like they have much of an idea that this is coming. These archers are running around. You saw PtitDrogo had his scout in the secret forest though, so they could see. Is there any units there that are coming that are going to see this? He actually chased off HasuObs' scout with his own, which is going to allow more time for those archers to get within range before they're seen by this. And you're right, he's just pumping out archers here, doing the mind games, saying, okay, you expect the Chinese to macro? Well, I'm going to go for macro in a different way, and I'm going to get a bunch of archers out very quickly, not even going for the Song Dynasty to get the Juknu archers, just going straight for normal archers, and the production is so boosted with that Imperial official, he's going to put out a lot of them very quickly.
Archers will produce in 5 seconds instead of 15 from that Imperial official supervision. It's pretty nutty. And who are they focusing? Well, Trump has double town center defender's advantage as English with double arrows shooting from town center. That's how English works. Holy Roman is going to be their target. They're going to be targeting the higher elo player, the one that won his one-on-one, the one that crushed PtitDrogo in the one-on-one. Both of them are going to be attacking him. Theoretically, to throttle his late-game power seems wise. He might also be the most resilient in terms of his micro in order to stave off this aggression. Let's see how he does. He's pumping out horsemen. We could even see Trump maybe transferring resources to him. That's a mechanic we haven't talked about a whole lot at all, but it does come with a penalty. Transferring resources to your allies costs, I believe, 30%. You pay a 30% tax. So that kind of stops like the stinkiest cheeses where it can kind of imbalance the game, which you actually see a lot in Warcraft 3 sometimes in 2-on-2.
Interesting. Yeah, and so, yeah, he's having to play a little bit defensively here. Now, theoretically, HRE can get, early man-at-arms that are going to be good against archers, but with the knights around, it might not be a great option, so he is going for his own horsemen. It looks like he is trying to go in, Pig trying to go in for a little bit of harassment. He's going to go ahead and fall back, though. They've actually switched, they're kind of switching back and forth between targets, putting pressure on both of their opponents. Not really it looked like you're right. They were going for HasuObs, but it didn't look like they found a good angle to really get enough damage done. There wasn't really a spot where the lumber line was open for those archers to get shots without being damaged in return. And so they're kind of just struggling to find a spot to make an impact here. And if they don't make an impact with this, then Trump having the second town center and getting an economy going later on is going to be able to run away with it. But here is the decider. Here is what they're going to do to follow up. Getting the ram upgrade so they can build rams in the field. They're going to go with the rams. The rams are the counter to the fact that they can play defensive. The rams make it so you can't turtle forever.
And here's the thing, we've got horsemen from HasuObs, not the army you usually want as a Holy Roman player, but he's got to make that decision. More than that, we've got the wedge in between the two allies of the west side. The knights and archers are together. The longbows would like longbowmen tanked by the horsemen, would like horsemen to cover the front, but that is not possible right now. So at any moment's notice, PiG could turn around, go for the longbowman with his royal knights. Good micro by Hasu, saving his villagers, but this is a 1 versus 2 fight. Longbows are coming from the back, looking to target down some archers from the Chinese. Hasu is buying a lot of time. He's also using the emergency repair on his mining camp to save it.
Oh, nice. And it is turned into an archer battle. PiG bringing back his knights to deal with the enemy archers. The horsemen on top of him. But this is going to be an advantage for PiG. He's got so much armor. He's not going to take a ton of damage from the horsemen. And he is going to protect PtitDrogo's archers. That was the one way that they could have been vulnerable, is if the longbowman came up in the back and actually demolished the archers. It would be a big deal. But instead, he still got the archers alive. The ram has been picked off, though. The horsemen did their job. The ram has been picked off. That means that it's going to be less of a timer. If that ram is there killing your buildings, you're on a timer to win the battle or your buildings die. Now they have a little bit more time to work with. Again, like you said, thanks to the emergency repairs. But it looks like the eastern side civilizations have been forced back, at least until they finish another ram.
He's healing for free, so any damage trades are going to be favorable for PiG.
Yep.
We can look at the kill count here. PiG killed 12, lost only 5. Everyone else has lost 10 units. So we can see cost efficiency is definitely on the green and blue side of PtitDrogo and PiG. On the other side, we do, of course, have that double town center advantage here for Trump. He's been able to pump out a lot of villagers, but again, that singular lumber camp really reducing his total income. He's got the means, he's not utilizing it as much. And HasuObs not able to think about relics, not able to think about the Holy Roman specific civ advantages of, let's say, the strong men at arms. He's been forced into horsemen just so that he can keep treading water and not drown.
Yeah, HasuObs is basically playing a generic civilization right now. He's not utilizing almost any advantages for his civ, and that's a disadvantage for their team. We do have some horsemen coming in here from the side, and this is really a brilliant move by PiG and PtitDrogo to play the rock, paper, scissors. You know, normally as a 1v1, you might get cavalry and get your own, archers to kill the spearmen. In this case, he's got an entire partner to make all the archers for him. He can just pump out the high-quality knights instead, and they can do more damage. You do have the longmen coming in for a flank on the side. They pick off 1 or 2 archers as well. The horsemen are getting on the side. They need one opportunity where they can get on top of those archers and kill the Chinese archer ball, but it looks like they're not going to be able to. Archers trading back and forth. Knights doing good work against the horsemen, and it looks like the horsemen are going to be forced to retreat. They're absolutely outnumbered in both ability and number by the knights, and it looks like they're going to get chased into HasuObs' base, but the ram is still alive at a very low hit point level. It's still going to be able to do plenty of damage to the buildings. Retreating is not an option when your buildings are being taken out slowly and steadily by the ram. This may be near the end of the game because the knights are all up and everywhere. The town center can't, and the outpost can't do almost any damage to the knights. They can do significant damage to the buildings. The archers are still alive. This is just absolutely in shambles for Trump and HasuObs. We may see them tapping out very, very soon. Unless, how could they pull off a miraculous comeback in this situation? I have no clue.
No one is Castle Age, no mangonels. What they really needed here was some spears. I think it's a bit of a compositional problem here. I believe Hasu with triple barrack spears could have been good. There is that bug, though, with the Holy Roman Empire where their spears do not brace. Very possibly that's why he didn't go for the spears into the Royal Cavalry. Decided to try and go with horsemen, maybe to pick off some archers. Then it was all down to Trump to have not just the longbows, but the spears as well. Had he managed his economy a bit better, maybe he would have been able to bring enough units to bear. add 10 spears to this, the cavalry can't charge as headlong into Hasu. But yeah, as it stands, it looks like this really smart strategy by PtitDrogo and PiG should prove triumphant here. Imperial official Chinese rush.
Yeah, wow. I think you're right. I think he might have just been thinking, him being HasuObs, he saw all those archers and said, well, going spears is suicide. All those archers will pick off all my spears. And part of that is because, as you alluded to earlier, they drove a wedge between the two players. So if they could have coordinated, Trump and HasuObs could have maybe done better, and maybe the spears could have been guarded by the longbowmen. But because they couldn't form a united front, the spears became kind of obsolete by so many Chinese archers, and he had to go into horsemen instead, which, as we've seen, proved not effective enough.
And part of the problem here as well, and I think you're very right with what you just said, part of the problem is I don't think second town center is that good in 2-on-2. You go from singular village production from both players, 2 town centers, to 3 town centers against 2. In a one-on-one, 2TC has a 100% villager lead, but in 2-on-2, 1 extra town center has a 50% villager lead production. Meanwhile, you're not producing as much army as a concentrated, coordinated attack of an opponent. Trying to use static defenses, you have to double all the defenses because you've got 2 bases to defend, and your opponent in between you can move in either direction. That's why usually in 2-on-2 RTS strategizing, you don't see economic openers. You mentioned that in Brood War 2-on-2 Pro League, people never expanded. They just made army because it gives too much flexibility to the question, where do we attack?
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like they're fighting hard. They want to get out of this battle. They want to somehow pull off a comeback and pull it into a late game where they can stretch it out and make something happen to double their money by advancing to the next stage. Here we go, and Trump coming in with some last-ditch spearmen and a handful of longbowmen. The numbers of knights have dwindled because they have been fighting underneath multiple defensive buildings for a while. I'm not sure what PiG is doing in the background here. He may have another stash of knights that he's built up. He may have done something else in the background that he might be teching up to use the advantage to get a different advantage instead of going for the absolute kill. But oh no, Trump ventures out a little too far, and this small army that he had is going to get picked off by these archers out of range of the town center defenses. And I just learned that you can put your units in the allies' town center. I didn't know you could do that, so that's kind of good to know. But they do have to hide in there, and in the meantime, the countryside is being absolutely rampaged by the French and Chinese combination.
Yeah, I'm assuming that PiG has several stables worth now. He's pretty much just gathering food and gold, as you can see, so it's full night production. They can feel the guillotine hanging over the heads of their opponents, and they're looking to release the rope. In the meantime, PtitDrogo, he's got a bit of a bank. Probably still producing a lot, just healthy economy, bit of a bank. I don't think he's going to go for console age at all. Yeah, we see some barracks coming out here. Those were needed before spears. English spears is what were really needed. And what's neat, English actually cannot make spears in the Dark Ages. Instead, they get Vanguard men-at-arms. That means they're the only faction that can't make spears, and therefore do not need to make a special upgrade to make them hardened spears. So essentially, you can save some money. You're the easiest civ in the world to make some spears that are relevant against Royal Knights.
Yeah. The flip side of that is that when you upgrade to Castle Age, you have to do extra upgrades to get your men-at-arms on the same level.
True,
in this instance, having the better spears would have been really, really nice. Hardened spearmen against knights as a pretty strong counter, actually. And it looks like so this is something I was thinking about earlier. HasuObs sending some horsemen out now. I feel like maybe if they'd had, and I don't know if they had the leeway to do this, but maybe if they'd been able to send out some counter harassment to distract the enemy team earlier, they would have avoided this disaster in their own bases. So he is sending out these horsemen now. He's going to get a few villagers picked off. But if you look at the units lost and killed, we've got Team 2, PiG and PtitDrogo have killed a total of about 135, 140 units, whereas Trump and HasuObs have killed less than 100. So a 50-unit deficit in the kill count just kind of shows the result of the way this game has gone.
And PtitDrogo actually saw fit to go to Castle Age. His clock tower His astronomical clock tower has finished. He built up enough resources in order to sponsor his way there. Even as he's got a giant archer ball, I would imagine the first thing he does, upgrade veteran archers. That will give +2 bonus damage immediately to the archers, bonus health, and you can finish it in 20 seconds with Imperial official supervision. You can see their graphic changing if that's something he does. And that should solidify things here.
Yeah, Trump putting up a nice little final defense here in his base. They basically demolished a lot of HasuObs' buildings and then turned north to try and make sure that Trump couldn't produce more. And you could see the burnt out husks of houses on the ground there.
They just got veterancy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there you go. Veteran archer. Very good. And veteran archers, I don't think are the longbowmen. Yeah, they're just longbowmen. They're not veteran longbowmen, well, obviously.
Yep.
So the archers are actually going to outtrade the normal longbowmen, even though the longbowmen are better in the feudal age. So here's another horseman run by, just trying to get past, but they're going to encounter some knights, and one horseman falls immediately. The ability of them to kind of get out on the map and do some counter harassment is not very high right now. That is a big archer ball. And yeah, like a few mangonel hits would demolish that, but there's no age 3 in sight for either of the two players, Trump or HasuObs.
Yeah, I don't think so. HasuObs just now was 20 population, just 20, as he had been hit the hardest. They knew who to focus. Trump ignored, but unable to make his way to Castle Age either.
Yeah, all those burnt down buildings there.
So many buildings were killed, yeah.
Yeah, look, he's even at supply capped right now because he's lost like 4 or 5 houses. And luckily, he'll get some supply freed up. Oh, no, this is the other side. PtitDrogo losing a few villagers to these horsemen. So this is a nice little counterattack. It's going to be real difficult for any kind of cheeky harassment to make up for the losses that they've already taken.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, to be honest, I'm surprised. I thought that Hasu and Trump will have some kind of strat as well. Both of them incredibly intelligent. They did have a strat, of course. It just wasn't as good. I mean, we could be making this argument for any team that is looking like they're the underdog. But I thought they would maybe, like, remember that some of these... archers are actually fighting back. I thought they'll remember that, like, in 2-on-2, having a large army early is usually king.
Yeah. And it's very clear that PtitDrogo and PiG had a specific strategy that they had planned for this match, because they executed it very, very well. It was a good double timing where you had the knights and the archers together, and they came in at their exact right spot. They even guarded against it being scouted very well to make sure that it was a surprise attack. It was very, very well planned and very, very well executed. And so, yeah, I mean, it's potentially that maybe they didn't. Maybe they were like, okay, well, maybe we should just play our 1v1 strategies. Because as you mentioned, Trump did the same build order, right? Or maybe they thought that the defensive capabilities of English would mean that they could get away from it, even if it was a 2v1 assault. But they assaulted HasuObs first.
Would have been cool if he built his second town center at HasuObs' base,
right.
Perhaps. Offering that network of castles bonus buff attack speed, basically, for defending units, which I'm not sure if it works for Hasu's units as well. It might. Not to say it's probably that fantastic on horsemen, but still, could have been neat.
Yeah, and at the very least, it would have meant that when he came to defend with his own longbowmen, that they would have gotten the bonus to those defenses, which is significant. So, but yeah, and as you said, it was very, very strong meta that in Brood War, the 2v2 matches were always very, very rushed. And just to comment, as I'm remembering it, on something you were talking about earlier about the matchups, in Brood War, it was a thing where basically... Oh, he's got nests of bees out as well, just in case any archers pop up.
Wow.
In Brood War, you actually had 2v2 specialists most of the time. There was usually players who only practiced the 2v2s for the team matches, so that you had a strong players going into that knew how to do the 2v2 matchup. So, but this is just teams of 2, so you couldn't exactly have 2 extra players to specialize in the third match.
Exactly, and yeah, it's the same in Warcraft 3. It was like you had a lot of specialist 2-on-2 teams. They would typically rush as well. Mass Huntresses, Mass Fiends, one of the major culprits, and like the equivalent of Castle Age rush timings or even fast expanding was popular as well, but not as popular nor as easy to play. Well, in this game, PiG has already made it to HasuObs as well, alongside PtitDrogo. He's going to be able to get veteran knights as well, the true royal knights, not the early ones. And he's pushing in here, he's killing more barracks, is PtitDrogo.
Yeah, and this is where the comeback starts to become impossible when you start to lose your infrastructure. Losing houses is bad, and Trump lost some of those, but once you start losing your ability to produce units, you start losing the ability to put up a defense against losing more buildings. And another little bit of harassment here from PiG. Nice little squad of longbows are going to push this back. He's got a lot of farms going. The English do get bonuses to farming, so you know he's going to have a decent economy over there as well. But meanwhile, he's losing his base, so that's not necessarily a good trade.
Yeah, blacksmith going down, several houses going down, lumber camps getting harassed. Trump now has the big army, he made the investment in the economy, but without HasuObs, he'll be unable to bring about springles to protect his longbows from Nest of Bees. Siege units in this game have a minimum of 8 ranged armor. That means that these longbows that start with 7 damage and will be getting 1 attack upgrade from the blacksmith are doing 8 damage into 8 armor. Minimum is 1, so every longbow will do 1 damage into the Nest of Bees. He's got about 30, so he needs to hit that thing like 8 times to take it down. And the Nest of Bees will kill the longbows before that, so terribly rough time of things. HasuObs now has a few archers as well. Horsemen and archers, never where Holy Roman wants to be. The attack is on. Nest of Bees moving in position. Fireworks are crackling and peppering with unholy fiery shots. Longbows will be moving back.
That's not what you want to have happen with those low armor across, longbowmen taking a huge hit. The entire volley of the Nest of Bees. They are so damaged now that they're going to be going down, not even to the Nest of Bees, but to the counter archers, which are more numerous as well. And it's just knights coming in, a couple from the side, just to continue chopping on those injured longbowmen as well. And there, they're going to give up. GG being called. HasuObs and Trump going down. PiG and PtitDrogo are going to be victorious, winning the 3rd game of the best of 3, and they will advance to the finals to face Team Bonjour.
Look at that villager count there for HasuObs, the team that had to call GG. They hit him early and mercilessly, and it looks like, if you just look at the yellow and the red graph, it doesn't balance each other out, does it? Yellow goes up a bit, red goes down a lot, and I think that's really the telling part of this story here. Had Trump not gone for a second TC and used those 700 resources plus future food spendings to make those extra villagers, he could have had an army of 10 longbows with 5 spears, and that could have really helped get Hasu to the 3rd age, to get those relics, to get the gold, to make his own lancers and actually make some good units. Wrong strategy for Trump and HasuObs. PiG and PtitDrogo, though, they punished it. Had they played the game like PiG played the first one-on-one, settle back, I do my thing, you do your thing, who knows what would have happened. HasuObs may have become really dangerous, but as it stands, the superior strategy by Drogo and PiG managed to win out.
Yeah, very, very well done. And I remember at the beginning of the game, you said, I think he's gathering stone. He's going to go for a town center, so I don't think he's going to build any longbowmen. And that kind of sums it up. He built a town center instead of longbowmen. And he didn't have any longbowmen when the enemy archers, which were inferior to his longbowmen, came in to invade. And that kind of, that got the ball rolling, or whatever analogy you want to make, to a long and slow but steady downfall. And it looks like we're going to be able to interview our 2 victors here in a second, so let's go ahead and get to that. Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Hey, we're doing good.
Yeah, congratulations on your victory here. It started off well. It started off poorly, actually, with PtitDrogo's defeat against HasuObs. Let's talk about that game first, chronologically, and we'll make it to your triumphant moment eventually. Drogo, you seemed like you had a plan for the map on Mountain Pass. 4 relics spawned on your side, and you decided not to focus necessarily on your own and Chinese strengths, but to deny HasuObs' strength. Talk to us about what went through your mind. How much of that was pre-prepared and how much was a concession into seeing how the map seed spawned? We can't hear you yet.
Uh-oh.
You can hear Pig. Maybe you speak to Pig. Pig speaks for you. It might be on our side.
When he said
Yeah,
hello.
give us a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get some technical issues figured out here with our interview with the
Did you
victors.
guys hear him when he said hello, right? Grubby and Moltrap?
No.
I did not hear him. It may be that you
Oh,
can
that's
hear him,
weird.
and it may even be that the stream can hear him.
Are
but
we still in
cannot.
a call? We're still in a call. Let me disconnect that Discord call with him. That's probably why. That's why things are strange right now, I think.
All right. Well, since we can hear Pig, let's go ahead and ask Pig about his game then. In the meantime, did you have again the same sort of situation? Did you figure out what to do based on what you scouted with your opponent, or did you have that plan going into it?
Yeah, I mean, I was really tempted to ram Trump because I saw him on stone early, but I went into the game just super reactive. I was like, I'm still newish to the game. We're all discovering it, right? And I feel like I don't really understand what to do in a lot of situations. But the last few days, I've been like realizing how much Age of Empires rewards you if you kind of keep a bit more of a multifaceted approach, never tunnel vision on just one thing. So I feel like if you go too all in or you just tunnel vision, the better player can lose one battle. Maybe they lose the relics, but they get up the extra town center in the trade route or this or that, right? So I decided to just play a little bit reactive. I overpowered the urge to just make some rams and all in. Built my own town center and got all those very greedy French eco upgrades. The moment my town center was down and the moment I hit Castle Age, I got like level 2 eco upgrades, which is disgusting greed. But when your opponent's making a King's Palace and they're going 3 TC boom, it kind of just balanced out. So it felt like it was still pretty even.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense because we saw you your second town center was like 40 seconds later. You didn't get the third town center, and yet when we looked at the economy, you had about 40% more resources gathered at the end. And we theorized, we didn't get to see it. Did you get all of the economy upgrades? Turns out that's exactly what you did. That's why you were so much richer, and you ended it with that knight flank move. Did you feel a bit of pressure knowing that your team was down 0-1?
Yeah, I mean, this is also the first time I've played Age of Empires competitively, and I don't play many tournaments for anything these days, so I'm like, ooh, I'm nervous. There's money on the line, there's pride, it's only best of one, this is super unforgivable, so I was like, you know what, let's try to stay calm, but I was like, all right, just don't panic, don't freak out too much, and it's always hard when you look at that map and it's just covered in stealth forest, and I'm like, I think I can fight his army head on. But there's mangoes. My archers, even if I spread them, I'm going to like lose vision and they're going to immediately clump up again and I'm going to eat terrible mango shots and my whole army's going to die. And I was like, if I lose this town center, it's really not the end of the world as long as I don't lose the villages. It doesn't really matter too much. You know, I'm at almost 100 villages. Just repair it, buy time, try to pick off spearmen with archers and go for the raid. And I could see that, you know, he'd built his palace out on a hunt. Felt like his resources were kind of spread. I knew that in terms of gold choices, they were getting more and more exposed for him and he'd have to be going for another gold soon. I didn't, the moment I sent every cavalry, every knight across, I was like, well, this is a bit of a gamble. But yeah, it was very lucky. I mean, we just caught him. He didn't spot it until it got in his economy. And we see what Royal Knights do to undefended villages.
I also hear that we have some issues with Drogo's sound, but we can ask him yes or no questions. So just put your thumbs up or put your thumbs down. Did you, in the first game against Hasu, did you focus more on anti-Hasu tactics than developing your own? Yes or no?
Double thumbs up.
Do you think it was the right call and you made a mismanagement in the follow-up? Or do you wish you would have gone for an economic, defensive, typically expected Chinese boom? Do you think... Oh, that's an or.
Yes or no?
Was it the right call and you messed up?
Oh, he says the first option.
Okay, option number 1. Did you... yeah, okay. I think we can't go too deep. But then finally in the 2-on-2, whose idea was it, Pig? To go for this aggressive coordinated attack, because the first 2-on-2 we saw on Mongolian Heights was exceedingly passive.
Yeah, definitely Drogo is the Ram Master. He's the player who's played a little bit more than me, and he picked the harder civ as well. I picked the easier civ. In my opinion, China's a little bit more complicated, you know, very flexible, hard economy, get your Song Dynasty, or suddenly swap over to supervising your production and just pumping out army. It's like, you know, managing your tax, managing your sheep. So Drogo was the one who kind of said, like, I think if we just pair up the Royal Knight, if it's backed up and I don't have to build any archers and he can just cover me, he makes all the archers and rams, he gets an almost solely wood-focused economy. I get to focus on just wood and on food and gold. It kind of just simplifies it, and I think this is general RTS team games. Aggression, whether it's all in or to transition, is very powerful because just your ability to stack up on one player is very good. I think if Trump didn't go to TC, we should have thrown that game by clicking on the town center so much with the Rams. This is a lesson I've learned on the ladder, and I was saying partway through that game, I'm like, oh dude, we're doing the stupidest thing we possibly could right now. You cannot click on a Holy Roman Empire town center. That thing is so tanky, and they just press the button and it just repairs to full. And I'm like, oh my god, we're throwing. And thankfully, Drogo didn't freak out and just kept focusing down the units. But I was like, we got to kill the production. That's how you win, is you kill the production. Maybe you kill the outpost so there's nowhere to garrison. But you cannot go for that town center. The what's it called? Emergency repairs is just the sickest ability.
Emergency repair, yeah.
That's incredible. And final question before we ask you what you think about the finals. Did you guys do any 2-on-2 practice, or you relied on your 1-on-1 and just discussion?
We focused mostly on 1v1. We tried 2v2 at first, and I'd actually forgotten that it was a 1v1 into 2v2 format. So at first I was like, let's play heaps of team games. I thought it was purely 2v2. And then we kind of realized how many games it would take to level up our team games as well. So we kind of went on that streak of just absolute pub smashing. We're just picking up nerds and just tossing them out the window. And we're like, oh, this feels like it's not improving our skills too much. And it's going to take us another 50 games to get against the really high level opposition. So we practiced a few. Right. We refined that ram push. We did some other build orders a little bit. But mostly we just focused on our 1v1s.
Cool. Well, it worked. You guys are going to the finals where you're going to go up against Red Panda and Honor, the two players from the Bonjour team. Do you have any thoughts going into that matchup about, well, I'm not going to ask you about your strategies, but any feelings going into the finals, or any feelings about the finals themselves?
Let's hope for that map RNG a little bit. Obviously, we don't know if we get to the 2v2. We'll see what happens there. But they're both, I think they're the highest ranked team. And these guys, they've both been smashing ladder. I think they're very, very good with their civs. So I think it'll be hard. I think it'll be a really hard fought match. And, I could just see them backing each other up very well in the previous series versus Nilly and Jim. They were dealing with the outposts very well. Even if they, it always felt like every fight they'd lose, they'd win 2 other fights elsewhere. And they were doing a lot of different things. So yeah, looks like they're going to be pretty scary to play against. But we'll give it a go. I think everyone's new enough. Anyone can still kind of beat anyone. So fingers crossed.
All right. Well, it looks like you know you've got your work cut out for you, but so do they. And good luck to you guys in the finals. It looks like PtitDrogo has been talking in the background. Unfortunately, we never got his audio fixed, but maybe if you guys end up winning and we talk to you again after the finals, we'll have that figured out by then. But best of luck to you. We're going to be going into a break pretty soon, and then giving everyone some time to catch some refreshments before getting into the finals. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, and congratulations again on the win.
Thank you.
All right, maybe we'll see them later. Grand finals coming up, guys. Soon we've got a break, and stand by for the finals where the winning team will earn together $5,000 and the title of the Castle Cup victor. The losing team, $2,500. Not too shabby. They've got that in the bank. And second place of the Castle Cup.